Hello. So it was just a day or two ago, my friend Mr. James Knight made a video and he was telling a story about his life, and I thought, what the heck, can I do that? And I tell a story about my life and would be interesting to people. So I thought, first off, let me try to find an interesting background so that if my story's not interesting, at least you can look at something in the background. Mr. James Knight in person, he was trying to give me some tips on making videos. He said that they need to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Okay, this is the introduction. This video is about me. It's a true story, and it's about a friend of mine. Oh yeah, I had a friend in a town. I wasn't born in this small town in southern Ontario, but I spent many years there. He was kind of like the Donald Trump of that small town. And I mean, he had a really very similar personality to Donald Trump. He didn't pay his employees very well. He skipped on paying his payments if he could. Those kind of things, you know, like just the guy was, I mean, he was so wealthy that he had, I think, both lions and tigers. He had a mansion, a big mansion, a multi-million-dollar house. Most people thought of him as a nasty character. There was always a rumor going around this small town that perhaps this guy was such a mean person because his family moved to Canada when he was a small boy, but his parents made him wear lederhosen to school, which nobody was wearing except for him. That may be true, I don't know. I never asked him about that. But for some reason, when I first met him, and we just really got along really well, one of the first encounters with him, I hired a company that did deliveries of high-end food. I ordered a set of dinner to come to his office with him and his wife and me, and we enjoyed a dinner together. And let's go on to Wu Jiao, the concert promoter. So yeah, one day I got this in my mind that I could be a concert promoter. I could hire bands. I actually threw a party at a farm. I had some friends that had a farm, and they allowed me to have a party there. And I hired 3 bands to come there. And I really didn't know what I was doing, but so I thought for a stage, what might be good is a flatbed trailer, which I don't have one or anything, but maybe my friend, who is this really Donald Trumpish type figure, maybe he could lend me one, and he did. He lent me one to have. That would be my stage for the 3 bands. As we're setting up for this big party, later in the day, the weather turns a little bit bad. It starts to look like rain. And I contact him. He sends over all these great big steel rods to in a tarp put over top of it, and it's going to be like a covered stage. Everything's all well and good. The bands start playing. The party's going on. There's like, I don't know, maybe 2,000 people attending this party. And it's determined that, it's going to be a little bit too dangerous because there's a lot of lightning at this in this storm. So then we have to give up the stage and we go inside of a barn. You know, there's all these people in the barn. There's a few fights that I have to deal with. The party actually went pretty good. A friend of mine, another friend of mine, a guy who's very generous, paid cash money for the bands to keep playing past like 1 o'clock in the morning till like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. I can't remember what time we finished, but it was awesome. It was a great party. And it was my party. But it ended up, after the party, we were cleaning up it was a farm, so we had to clean up the whole farmyard. From first the party was outside and then inside the barn, cleaning all that up, bottles and the cans and all that. We returned those and actually made more money from that than we did from the actual concert. Maybe 6 months to a year later, I saw on the news a similar party to what mine. It really looked the same or similar on the news, and a lot of people died inside the barn, and it was very similar to the barn that we were in, with some kind of flammable insulation inside the barn. And I just felt so lucky that didn't happen. So after that, many years went by. I didn't really see my friend for many years, my Donald Trump friend for many years. Wu Jiao, the machine shop owner. Well, first I had a small shop, and it was like kind of an L shape, and it had an office kind of in the middle of the L. And I think I had that for about 2 years. And I did make some equipment for people. I even sent some equipment to China, where I am now, and that was pretty exciting. I started making enough stuff that it was too small. So then I needed to rent a place, and this Donald Trumpish kind of guy that I knew, at that point, it was already many years later, he had a pretty decent sized shop when I left, but after several years, he had like, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 different shops that he owned, and he had one really big one. But he had one that was kind of semi-closed, and I asked him about that, and he let me rent that. And it had some equipment, a huge lathe that he had in there that he left for me. But I rented that from him. That went on for several years. That I had a bunch of engineers working for me. We made a bunch of equipment. Autotube and Variform were my main customers, even though they weren't in the field that I wanted to be making equipment in. I wanted to be doing stuff in die casting, especially magnesium, but Autotube and Variform supported me. I think because I was from their town, and they wanted to try to give some business to their town, people in their town. Next is the Wu Jiao, the inventor. I had an idea, because I was doing die casting. We use ingots to make die castings. You know, an ingot, everybody knows what an ingot is, especially in a gold ingot or aluminum or silver ingot. I was doing magnesium, so I had this idea that I could make a machine that you put ingots into, and then it just rotates them over top of the metal, and they heat up. Okay, this is getting a little too technical, I know, but the ingots would heat up over the top of the furnace, and then they would be hot by the time they get injected into the metal. And that was something that would seem desirable to that industry. Submitted it to the Canadian government for a grant, and they gave me a grant. It was amazing. They gave me a grant for like $20,000, something like that. But I couldn't use it in my shop. I had a machine shop with engineers, but I couldn't use it there. I had to spend the money somewhere else. And I can kind of understand why they do that, but that was the deal. So I went to my friend, my Donald Trump friend, who had this huge, gigantic shop, and I talked to him about it, and he's like, yeah, okay, I'll take the money. And he actually helped on the design as well, so that was just great. After the designated amount of time, he didn't get very far, and he was asking for more money. So I told the Canadian government I need more money, and they said, oh yeah, okay, we'll give you more money. Then that happened again, and I talked to the Canadian government. They said, we'll give you more money. It happened again. I talked to this happened enough time. It was up to maybe 90,000 or 100,000 Canadian dollars. This Donald Trump character kept asking for more money. I mean, he did make a decent piece of equipment for me. The design was nice, but it was nowhere near worth that much money. He delivered the machine to me, and it wasn't really ready. So I had to do a bunch of stuff to it. And then shortly after, this guy sends me a bill. I think it was another $80,000. I mean, really. He sent me a bill for another $80,000, maybe $75,000. I can't remember. It was a few years ago now. It said it was stuff he hadn't billed before, and I wasn't getting any more grant money. I had given him every penny I got from the Canadian government. You know, he's that kind of guy. I mean, I tried to learn from him all the time. So what I did was I made a spreadsheet of all the things I had to do on this piece of equipment, and I sent him a bill for about $150,000. And actually, he appreciated that. He thought, wow, this guy's learning from me. We actually got along better because he billed me for 80, and then I billed him for 150,000. So that's kind of interesting. You know, before we could argue about the difference between the $80,000 and the $150,000 bill that I sent to him, the lions killed him.
A Canadian man's love for exotic animals ended in tragedy over the weekend. One of several tigers Norman Buwalda cares for on his property attacked and killed the 66-year-old man.
So that's the story. Thanks for watching. See you next time.